What's up? It's Kage Taylor from the Nocturnal. I'm going to be speaking with the actors, the director, and the producers behind Apple TV Plus's Home After Dark. Home After Dark is a mystery drama that premiered on Apple TV Plus this month. It surrounds a young journalist named Hilde Lysiak who moves to her father's hometown and investigates cold cases like kidnapping and murder. The series was inspired by the real-life Hilde Lysiak, whose own investigative reporting earned her national attention at age 9, and her relationship with her father Matt, who is also a journalist. Now at 13, Lysiak is a consulting producer to an all-star team behind Home After Dark, which involved helping actors Jim Sturgess and Brooklynn Prince uncover their own journalistic instincts. The other inhabitants of Erie Harbor are played by Abby Miller, Kylie Rogers, Joelle Carter, Jabril Natambu, Derek McCobb, Michael Weston, Aziza Scott, and Lewis Hertham. You're playing real-life people, but you are acting out, a fictionalized script. So how did you balance that out, having to kind of adhere to their identities, but also have this storyline that, is completely creative?
Yeah, I think how do we balance it? God, I don't know. It was amazing that we got a chance to meet with Hilde and Matt before we started shooting, and we got a chance to spend time with them and just to sort of see the dynamic of those two, their very specific sort of nuanced relationship that they have with each other. And I think just to observe that and to sort of connect that into what me and Brooklyn were doing on screen was really interesting and really important. But then I think we just went along for the ride with the story that the writers and the showrunners were kind of creating for us. So I think it was just, more than anything, it was just really important just to feel the connection of these two characters as father and daughter. And then you could kind of take them anywhere, and just kind of really understand how they would react with each other and to each other, no matter what you put in front of them,
And how much time did you get to spend with them?
Well, I met her, first at the table read, and then we've met up a few times. We went to Tombstone, we went to a haunted house, we went to Big Kate's saloon and we exchanged, scary stories. We have, we've been, to Vancouver together, and we went to like a hotel, so we were like exploring the hotel, and we've got to spend a lot of time together.
Those two are trouble. When they get together, it's explosive. You better watch out.
If there's anything suspicious, we're
like, yeah.
And then, like, having met her, is there anything, about her story that, truly inspires you?
Her, there's a video, and she got a lot of bad comments, and she read them off to people, and she was like, they said this, and then at the end, she's like, I'm gonna do this, and she gave like this really powerful speech, and that made me feel like my heart was put in a microwave, and then when it came out, it was gone because it all melted, and like it was, I think I almost cried because she was so inspiring to me, and like she was so seeing her, how young she was, and her doing that made me really inspired to go out and do my dreams.
That's awesome. And just you two working together, like the father-daughter bond was so important in the series. How did you kind of create that off screen so that you could create it on screen?
Well, when they were doing chemistry reads, they would bring in like a bunch of different people for like different parts and, see the chemistry. And when Jim came in, we like automatically like hit it off. And he was like, it was hard to believe that he was an adult because like he was like so open because, adults are like, yeah, I'll play with, they kind of like shy away from, being fun and, kidsy with the kids. And Jim, like he walked in there and he was like, he was like, hey girl, what's up? And, he was like dancing, and I was like, oh, I have never met an adult like this. and he was so cool. And I was like, wow.
I was teaching Brooklyn some Cockney English rhyming slang. So yeah, I was teaching her how to do a British accent.
Yeah.
And the minute I knew she got it, I knew we were going to get on great.
Yeah.
Do you want to say pint of lager and a packet of crisps?
Pint of log and a packet of crisps.
There you go.
So, besides the accent, what else did you pass along to Brooklyn? You know, tips of the trade, things like that. Because you have worked in crime TV before.
Have a handshake that goes on for like 1 minute. and we were like, and we first created it to be like a little handshake, you know, in the chemistry read, they told us to, you know, go outside of the door and create a handshake. And we created a handshake, like a short handshake. And I was like, that's too short. And he's like, yeah. And so we did like this like 1 minute long one.
1 minute. It went on for like 20 minutes, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It was like every day we would add stuff to it. We'd work on it. It just got bigger and bigger. I wouldn't even call it a handshake anymore. I'd call it a dance routine.
Yeah, we still have it on the show. And we've created songs together. Like, you can't leave us in a room alone for 5 minutes or else we will make up a song. And it's usually pretty silly.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
Yes, very much. Now, Hilde Lysiak didn't just inspire the actors. Her refusal to back down and strength amongst negativity also caught the eye of producers, who became determined to let the young journalist's story be told. So I'm going to start with Joy first. You were the first one to kind of come into contact with Hilde and her family?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What was your first impression, and why were you so captivated by her and her story?
I was at the Tribeca Film Festival with Lorene Scafaria's movie The Meddler, and I was in pre-production on 13 Reasons at the time. And, you know, so I was really in this headspace of, I just want to make things that are important for kids, you know, and for girls and women and kids. And this tiny, tiny child gets up on stage and they showed the viral video where she like addressed all of her haters in a way that I never would have the guts to do at the time. And she said, I want to be taken seriously, and all kids want to be taken seriously. And, you know, she was so clear that nothing mattered more than the truth. And this was just at the time that fake news was, you know, was becoming a buzz term. And I started to chase her life rights. It was pretty competitive. And the first thing I did was call Dana Fox, who's an old friend of mine. And we've been close for so long that I've seen home movies of her where she talks exactly like Hilde. And I was like, I think I met a little girl who is like your soulmate. And then called Dara, and it was this like, our daughters were friends at school. They were 4 at the time, and we both had these like sort of really outspoken, strong-willed children, and felt like, how do they, you know, how could a little girl be so self-assured and so accomplished at 9? And we were all so fascinated with this woman that we're now, this 13-year-old person that we're looking at right now, who's accomplished more than most of us. So we, you know, we just set out to like make a fictional story based in Hilde's truth and in the essence of who she is. And I think we did it.
And then Hilde, so you're used to being the one to tell the story. What is it like when someone's, you know, telling the story about you? You are the subject this time.
It's very strange because as a reporter, you know, I try to stay out of the story. I feel like that's kind of my job, but I don't know how to explain it. So you're a reporter, right? Wouldn't it be weird if like it suddenly just turned around?
Absolutely.
I like think about it in a different way. I'm like, wow, that's a good follow-up or something. It's very bizarre.
And then, so Dara, you are kind of like a vet when it comes to crime and mystery TV. What was it like this time? Because now you're writing, you know, serious crime for a young crime solver. So was it challenging? Was it easier?
I mean, I think one of the things that was hardest to nail here was the tone. And that was actually one of the reasons I was really grateful to be partnered with Dana Fox, who I think added a real lightness to my penchant for darkness. I'm happy to live in the dark places all of the time. I once sold a pilot that takes place on death row. So just
I've read it.
It's like a happy place. That was a challenge, but I have to say, like, we live in a world where our kids, are experiencing active shooter drills and they see climate change, and the people who are affecting change in those places are actually young people. I mean, young people, look at Malala. Young people are the ones who are leading us out of that darkness and into the light.
Right.
Actually, while strangely, yes, you'd think it would be difficult to be living in this darkness while doing a family show, I think the fact that our world lives in that place made it a little bit easier.
It was actually one of the questions when we sold this to Apple. I remember Matt Chernis saying, when my 9-year-old watches Stranger Things, I can say to him, but it's fake. What do you say when your child asks about this show? And our answer was, well, my child had to hear about a shooting yesterday in Santa Fe from the backseat of my car. And our answer was, what are the kids who want to grow up to be Emma Gonzalez and Greta and Malala and Hilde have to watch on television? And we didn't think there was a show for those kids. We wanted to make a show that inspired more children to be heroes and fight for what's right in the world.
So what kind of inspired you to get into crime and mystery, whether it's a true story, whether it's a fictional show you watched? Open to anyone.
I mean, I was really lucky. The very first procedural that I ended up on was a weird, quirky show called Pushing Daisies. And I just fell in love with crime from there. I realized it could be something that was so much more than, a crime novel. My grandfather's crime novels,
Season 1 of Home After Dark yields 10 episodes through the work of Paramount Television Studios and anonymous content. Scenes incorporate the visions of showrunners and the director, who aspired to create a new love of mystery in the hearts of Apple TV subscribers. The finale left a lot of questions that weren't answered. So is there going to be a possible second season or any details surrounding that that's going to, answer those?
Yes, the good news is Apple has given us a second season. They're amazing. We had actually already started shooting it when the pandemic shut us down, as well it should have. So we shot 3 episodes, and as soon as we can safely get back up and running, we're going to finish shooting the rest of them. I always knew that I wanted the first season to end with something that kind of satisfyingly told you a big piece of the Richie Fife mystery, but that you realize that Richie Fife is not the end of the mystery. He's actually the beginning of a much bigger mystery. So in season 2, that's the mystery that we get into, and you'll still find out some of the answers to the questions that you have at the end of season 1. I'm trying to do this without spoilers. I'm terrible at this. I always want to tell the entire answer. But yeah, so that's what you have to look forward to in season 2, and just more of the incredible characters that I sort of fell madly in love with in season 1.
So when you're making this series, who was the ideal audience? Who did you want to be watching this? What background did you want them to have?
That's the thing that I think was terrifying to the people that, before we were trying to sell this, everybody kept saying, who is it for? Who is it for? And we kept saying, it's actually for everybody. I don't think people are used to that. I don't think they're used to you saying that. It was sort of scary for a lot of people. We were very lucky to find Apple who believed that that was possible. And for us, it was just about trying to have really good storytelling that was going to work for my parents, the grandparents, was going to work for the parents, was going to work for the kids, and potentially everybody could watch them together. But I also knew, I had roommates for a long time, and I was just like a bunch of girls sitting on the couch, and I knew I wanted them to love it. I knew I wanted men to have Hilde as their access character, which is something that I don't think people expected was possible. But I just wanted to take her character really seriously and have men kind of say like, yeah, sure, there's the dad and he's great, but like Hilde is my access character. Hilde is who I am. She's who I sort of feel like I am in this story. And that was the sort of weird, quietly revolutionary act I felt like we were trying to pull off. So it's honestly, it's for everybody. I know that doesn't seem possible, but luckily we've really seen that the audience seems to be really kind of big and demographically more interesting than they necessarily thought it would be, which is awesome. I mean, that's anecdotal. That's like people texting me.
And then something
I might be wrong.
And then something I found interesting is that Hilde, she's Gen Z, she's, the main character. And you see her and her friends doing the research in a library. You don't really see them Googling, a VHS is a huge part of the story. So did you like consciously think technology, shouldn't be part of the story, or should, how'd you put technology into this? Like, what role did you want it to play?
That's John. That question has John Chu written all over it. John Chu is actually the person who really helped to kind of like crystallize the sort of idea of how we were going to treat that in the show. So you can speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Gen Z sort of lives in a digital and physical world. I love that. One, it's in the past, so information is locked into library books of the past. So she has to like go into microfiche and figure things out in that way. I just love this idea that in a non-linear data world, she has to be both linear and non-linear. And I just love that idea because that's the way that generation thinks. That's how we process information now. We're able to process tons of information and put it down. And so I'm proud that she could do both ways. And I'm sure it'll evolve as she gets older, as the show goes through it. So yeah.
What TV shows, true and fictional crime stories kind of inspired what your idea of a mystery show is? What a crime show needs to have.
I mean, for me, it was a combination of like these incredible podcasts like Serial that were true crime stories that felt like they had cliffhangers at the end of every episode. And then the other two shows that were kind of really inspiring to me when I was thinking about this was Broadchurch. It's on the BBC. It's this really cool sort of small town feel where you get to know all the characters really well. And so the mystery feels like it's about the characters as well. And the other one is I just love Benedict Cumberbatch. Who doesn't? He's great. So BBC Sherlock was sort of like a delicious treat I like to give myself. And I thought about that a little bit in terms of what I wanted it visually to feel like.
Thank you to the cast and crew for joining me. Home After Dark is available to stream now on Apple TV+. This is Kage Taylor for The Nocturnal.